Hello, everyone. I'm Dijon,
And I'm Aiara.
and welcome to the Cast, the podcast about the art of storytelling and how it's used across different mediums. Make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see our channel grow, and to click the notification bell so that you're notified when we post. As usual, Star Wars media we're consuming. Ira, you can start.
Let's see. Cheering my way back through Dune. I got bookmarks now, so I can flip flop to the appendix with record speed, and that's exciting. I'm starting to enjoy it a little more actually now that I'm like further into it and can like I guess read it the way it was intended. It's getting pretty good. Still not my most favorite sci-fi novel I've ever read, but it's pretty good. I went and saw The Boy and the Heron yesterday, the most recent Ghibli film, and I'll talk about that more in TV and film because I have some thoughts. And been playing out my backlog to prepare for Persona 3 Reload. That's about it.
For me, let's see. Finally finished up Final Fantasy 16 DLC Echoes of the Fallen. I'll talk about that in the video game section. Uh, Played some more Metal Gear Solid last week. I left off at the Vulcan Raven boss fight, which is one of the best boss fights in the game because it forces you to use all of your tools and use stealth a lot. I'm close to finishing it. Um, I know what I have to do next before I get to the last couple of bosses. Um, but yeah, I'm loving this game. It's good. I'll finish it before the month is over, and on the second, my life becomes Persona 3 for half that month before, or I guess majority of that month before Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth comes out, and then that's gonna be like,
All Final Fantasy all the time, real.
yeah,
That's real.
it's gonna be great. Um, Play some more Cyberpunk in my second playthrough. I had another very romantic encounter with Panam. Like I told you, Panam, love my life. Uh,
Mhm.
Set my heart aflutter. It was great. Uh, but yeah, now I'm just gonna hop straight into animation because everything else I have to talk about is animation. And as I was writing my notes over the last week or so, it just got out of control. So I was like,
I see.
I gotta move all this to the animation section because I'm gonna be talking about a lot of this
Real,
stuff
real.
for a long time.
Mm.
So
That's fine.
last night I watched Mortal Kombat Legends Snowblind, which is a very apt title because every time I open the blinds, I get snow blinded by the white snow. But
Oh
like
yeah,
snow
weather
blindness
is
is real.
terrible.
Snow. One of the
Yeah,
things like I like snow at first until after it lasts more than a day, it gets annoying. You wake up in the morning, you open your
right.
window, or you open your door, and you get blinded by all the light reflecting off of the white snow.
Right. It's like, this shit's still out here. Come on, dude.
Get flashbanged
And
every morning.
especially if you have to like walk through it afterwards, like, and they didn't salt, because in my neighborhood they didn't salt the streets properly, so it's like only certain sections of sidewalk are salted. All the rest is still super super snowy. You can imagine how that's made my commute to
Yeah,
work in the morning.
I threw away my old pair of boots because they got destroyed. I need to get some new boots. I didn't think it would ever snow again, with climate change.
Right.
It literally
Change it
hasn't
all that.
it literally hasn't snowed in like 2 years. I was not expecting it to snow and now I don't have boots anymore.
Me neither. I have like platform boots, but I'm not wearing those in the snow. That's how you break your neck.
Yeah, I gotta get some new boots.
Yeah.
But yeah, Mortal Kombat Legends Snowblind. It's the third movie in the Mortal Kombat Legends animated films. The first two were more focused on the like Mortal Kombat tournaments and that timeline and story arc. But now it seems like that they've given up telling like a concurrent Mortal Kombat story after the second film, which last time I talked about it, I said it was way too much going on. They combined the story of like three games into one when realistically that movie should have been split into two separate movies. Um,
Mhm.
but now they're just telling original like anthology like stories with each film. Each film is kind of its own unique thing. And this one it takes place in a universe where um essentially these things called revenants, which are basically like zombies in the Mortal Kombat universe, have taken over the world. And the survivors live in wastelands with little to no like natural resources. And Kano has become the king of the wastelands, and his gang, the Black Dragons, have go around taking over outposts. The main characters are an old Sub Zero who refuses to fight after he lost his clan to the Revenants, and a young Kenshi Takahashi who's a very proud and brash fighter who wants to be the best fighter in the world. Um, but when Kenshi loses his sight, which is not a spoiler because the whole thing of his character is that he's a blind swordsman with like telekinetic abilities. So naturally he loses his sight, and then he has to. Sub-Zero is forced to train him in his ninja ways, and of course they both grow along the way. Sub-Zero is forced to fight again, and Kenshi becomes less proud and starts fighting for people. It's a good movie. It's the best.
It sounds like a good movie.
The Mortal Kombat Legends movie so far, and I like that they're just telling original stories. And after the immense disappointment of Mortal Kombat 1 and this story mode, I low-key think that's what they should do with the story modes in Mortal Kombat 1 now, is have them just be like an anthology stories. Like each game just has its own little story that is unique to itself. That has nothing to do with anything else, since they introduced the multiverse into the Mortal Kombat games. Now this doesn't directly tie into like technically with the multiverse, technically any supplementary material could be thrown into the multiverse. So technically this could be a part of the video game multiverse as well. But it does bring in Chronica's Crown, which is essentially how the multiverse started into Mortal Kombat games. Into this universe, and it's how this universe exists. But I don't want to go too deep into that and spoil stuff. But yeah, the last one they made is called Cage Match, and it's starring Johnny Cage naturally. And yeah, I'm gonna probably watch that later today. I always forget to mention that I'm still in the middle of rewatching Ben 10. I'm watching Ben 10 Alien Force, and I'm on the third season. And the third season is notorious because they regress Ben back to being the arrogant kid he was in the original series. Whereas in the first two seasons of Alien Force, he's so much more mature and he's such a different person. But they regress him in season 3 because the first 2 seasons didn't do as well as the original series. So higher ups thought, well, it must be because he's different. So they made him annoying. But honestly, it's still fun. I'm still enjoying it. I'm honestly just enjoying it for what it is because it happened. I can't undo it. I just gotta enjoy it.
Right.
But in recent Ben 10 news, the creator, the man of action, also known as Duncan Rouleau, is interested in making an adult animated Ben 10 series. He says, "It would be great to have a high-stakes show that offered more mature themes. Not so interested in gore and sexual content, but dealing with emotional, social, and political elements. Similar to the MCU movies." Yeah, I think that I don't understand why they rebooted the series to begin with. I think the natural progression was always to go straight to either a Ben 10K or a Ken 10 show, Ken being Ben 10's son. Because in the Ben 10K episodes of the original series, he has his son Ken, who eventually gets his own little Omnitrix. So the sequel too, if you wanted to do another series with the kid, you should have just gone Ken 10 route. But if they want to do this more mature show and political focused show that's aimed at the people who grew up and are adults now who watch Ben 10, it should be Ben 10K. And of course, naturally, you would still have his son running around in the background. So I don't understand why they rebooted to begin with. It should have either been Ken 10 or Ben 10K in the first place. There was no reason for the reboot when there was still more story to tell. It's low-key like how I feel about Naruto, and not everybody does. Naruto did not need to jump straight to Boruto. We didn't need to jump straight to their kids. There was still so much story to tell with Naruto and all of his surrounding characters as they're still young adults and like going into their early 20s. There was still so much story to tell. To actually tell the story and the road to Naruto becoming Hokage instead of jumping straight to he's Hokage, he has children. They should have told us the story in between all of that. But I digress. Besides the point. Also watching Batman the Anime Series and Superman the Anime Series. In season 3, episode 9 of Batman, the episode's called Mean Seasons. It has an incredible take on the villain Calendar Man, who is instead a woman in this, and she goes by Calendar Girl instead of woman, and she goes by Calendar Girl specifically because the whole like story is about essentially she was a former model who stopped getting work when she got older, so she got tons of cosmetic surgery done, and now she's going after her former employers as revenge. She wears a mask to hide what's assumed to be a face ruined by botched surgeries, but in the end it turns out that she looks just as beautiful as she's always been, but all she can see are the flaws. And the themes of the episode were very strong and unfortunately still reflect modern beauty standards and how fickle the entertainment industry is. It was a really good episode. The following episode was very magic focused with Jason Blood and Etrigan and what is it, Clarion the Witch Boy, and so coincidentally was the episode of Superman the Anime Series I was on featuring Dr. Fate. So I watched them back to back. Spy Family, the season's over. Only 12 episodes, less than half of the first season, which was 26 episodes. But apparently it's because they're making a movie that's coming out in the spring. Which that's just become a trend with anime where they'll make like a short season, then release a movie, and then work on the next season.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of dumb, honestly. I miss the old anime format. I mean, like, the movies are fine. It means
I get to go and see it in theaters. That's fine.
That is fair.
But the penultimate episode before that very last one was the episode with the little girl crushing on the grown man, which was just as creepy as you would expect it to be. Why does come on, Japan, y'all gotta chill out. This is like one of the most wholesome shows ever. You gotta have that one creepy thing in it.
No, for real.
But there's a trailer for Masters of the Universe Revolution, the second season to Masters of the Universe Revelations. The animation art style looks as amazing as it did the first season, and it seems like this season will focus a lot more on Adam, with his father getting ill and him having to choose between ruling the kingdom in his father's stead and being He-Man. It releases January 25th, so I'll be talking about that by next episode. Delicious in Dungeon. I was mildly interested in this show, but as soon as I saw the Trigger logo in the opening credits, I got way more excited. I didn't know this was animated by Studio Trigger. But yeah, have you watched it?
I watched part of the first episode. I think I want to go back and read the manga first, though, because I'm hearing a lot of good things. But I did watch most of the first episode. I really, really enjoyed it. Yeah, like more than I thought I was going to.
I think there's a third episode out right now. I need to check out. But yeah, it's good. It's real good so far. Just watching them. It reminds me of Dr. Stone, where Dr. Stone makes takes science and put a very anime spin on it. This is taking food and putting a very fantasy and anime spin on it. It's fun.
Right.
But Boy the Heron, you say you saw it. Let's talk about that.
Yes, Boy and the Heron. I got a lot of thoughts on it. I'm gonna keep this as spoiler free as possible, which will not be hard.
Well, you can start off spoiler free, but we can talk about spoilers because we talked about it before.
Oh yeah. Did you see? You saw it, right?
Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
I saw it over Winter Break.
So it was. I have to preface this with it was a great looking movie, fantastic, beautiful even, but it was a Ghibli movie that was to be expected. It was a great looking movie. The visuals were great. It sounded great. Like the score was really, really good. The person who did the end credits theme really surprised me, but it makes sense. I get why. And then the voice cast, the English voice cast, because I saw it in dub. The English voice cast was really good.
I wanted to see it dubbed, but unfortunately, when I went to go see it, sub was the only thing available. Because I really wanted to see it dubbed because, what is it? Robert Pattinson voices the Heron, and he's doing.
Yep,
he did a great job in the trailers, and yeah, I really wanted to see it dubbed. Once it's on HBO, I'll probably check it out dubbed.
Yeah, the dub was really, really good. Willem Dafoe is also in it, and he did fantastic.
Is
but
he the uncle?
No, he's one of the seagulls.
Oh, really?
He's one of the seagulls. The uncle is actually Christian Bale, so he's back in Ghibli films. Yeah.
Now I really want to watch it dubbed. Now I might go see it in theaters with some friends or something because I want to see it dubbed.
You should. Because the dub was great. I didn't know that Christian Bale was in it because I don't think they really promoted him as much as Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson. But when I heard the uncle speak, I was like, "That's Christian Bale." I know that inflection anywhere. That is Christian Bale back in another Ghibli movie. He did great.
I know that British man.
Yeah, I know him. But I enjoyed it a lot. I was really confused for most of it, but I think it was because I missed like the first 5 minutes. Because we were kind of late to the theater. But at the same time, it was just like, it felt like things would just like happen. And like they would kind of be explained, but like it felt like I was missing context the whole time. Which was kind of strange, but like it didn't make the movie any less fun, I suppose. It was just like, if you're going into it looking for plot, you're gonna find it, but it's not gonna be like coherent, I guess. I don't want to say like.
What were you confused by?
like I mostly like what was the kid's name? I think Shuchito? No, that's the father. Uh the kid, what was the titular boy,
Yeah.
and his relationship with the pregnant lady. Because it's like they
Oh,
said big sister at some point. Because remember, I watched the dub. They said big sister at some point,
oh,
and then aunt, and then mother, and I was like, huh?
they said
And
big
I didn't.
sister.
They did, and I
Oh,
was
I
really
didn't
confused.
see any big sister. That's just his aunt.
Okay, that's his aunt. Cool. And like yeah, I don't know. It was just like the fact that I was so confused about their relationship, kind of it threw off the whole movie for me because it's like, what are we talking about? What are we saying? But I really did enjoy it. It was a good movie. It was just like a little confusing
Why would
to
they have
me.
him call her big sister in that dub? That's weird.
Well, no, she refers to herself as big sister at some
Uh,
point. She's like, I should have been a better big sister,
oh,
and
she's
I'm
talking
like,
about
huh?
her. Well, his mother is her
Oh,
little
see,
sister.
this is why you don't go see movies drunk, you guys. This is why. That makes sense. That makes a lot more sense than whatever I was thinking.
Yeah.
So now I understand it a little bit more.
Honestly, what's
All
weird
the
is that his father is marrying his wife's sister. He
and
got her
the people
pregnant.
that
This is weird.
the people that I went to go see it with said that too, but I was like, if my wife died, or well, yeah, that's not spoilers. If my wife died,
It
in the
happens in
way,
the first 5 minutes that you missed.
yeah, if my wife died, right, and I had to remarry to find somebody to take care of my son, like her sister would probably be a pretty good choice because it's like she looks like her enough. Um, I'm familiar with her. Like you don't have to go through the talking
Yeah,
stage
and
again. Like it makes
this was during like the
sense.
Industrial Revolution as well. So back in the day,
Yeah,
different
yeah.
times.
It's like it makes sense. It makes sense.
But
I
yeah,
get
that
why you
was.
did it.
I remember the moment I realized that the little girl with the fire powers is his mom. I was like, oh, that's cool. I wasn't expecting
That was
that
really
because I
cool.
was like, we
It
gotta.
made me sad
Yeah, I
though.
was like, we gotta see his mom at some point. And I was hoping that they didn't pull a Luke and Leia where he gets a crush on her, which they didn't. They immediately made it
Right.
clear this is his mom and he knows it's his mom,
Right.
so he's not gonna be
Don't be
weird about
weird.
it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was a fun movie. I need to
It
see
was really fun. It was nice to watch. And like I said, it was a gorgeous movie. Like I think my favorite part about it was the fact that like you could tell that like it was old Ghibli style with like modern animation techniques and that they really meshed really well together to make it like a treat to watch. Also, there's a beautiful bush woman in it. So it immediately gets 10 out of 10 from me.
it. Oh yeah, old lady turned young again.
Yep.
Uh,
Beautiful. Beautiful.
yep, good movie. So
Good book.
moving on to comics. Read a lot of comics again. Just had a lot in my backlog. For some reason, DC app isn't letting. It keeps deleting my downloads every time I close the app, and I'm like, "What are you doing? I'm going to forget to read these if they're not in my downloads."
Mm.
But Superman Lost. This is the penultimate issue, I believe. Spoiler alert if you're reading Superman Lost. Superman finally discovers that Lex gave Lois cancer, and Lois stops
It's
him
about time.
from doing something stupid. Meanwhile, Lex is waiting for Superman to barge in and kill him, but it never comes, and that saddens him because he's just a sad, lonely man who has no idea how to connect with people other than through hatred and spite.
Oh, kind of sad.
Yeah. Action comics. Superman goes to Constantine to ask for his help saving his adopted daughter from the clutches of an alternate universe daughter of Batman. So this is from a comic that I haven't read. This character,
Mm.
and apparently, she says she's the daughter of both Batman and Ra's al Ghul, and I'm like, huh? Do you mean Talia? And I'm like, I think she's like some like they just took Batman and Ra's al Ghul's DNA and just created this child out of them because I was like, huh? I'm pretty sure he's a guy. What happened? This is comics, Anything can
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah.
Ra's al Ghul literally has magic, so I don't know. I don't know what happened. I'm gonna have to go back and read that comic and find out how she came to be.
Right.
But Batman Gargoyle, it becomes harder for Batman to destroy his life as Bruce Wayne and fake his death when he learns that he's directly connected to the case he's investigating. Because when he was a kid, he went to Arkham Asylum's kids psychiatric ward because he went and hunted down and murdered. Oh well, I don't think he murdered him, but he beat him within an inch of life. The person who killed his parents,
Right.
when he was a kid, and that person is now paralyzed, and he was convinced that it actually wasn't that person, and that he beat up that he was just this rich kid who went and beat up this random person, but it turns out it actually was the person who killed his parents. But also in the background, there's this story of this woman I mentioned before who, it's not clear if she was a journalist or like their social media manager, but she essentially was posted on the social media of one of Gotham's most famous newspapers about essentially the rich being corrupt and all that, and the government, the rich being corrupt. And she got fired, and now she's having this protest, doing the same thing. And honestly, it mirrors a scene from the Batman where he goes to someone's funeral, and this black lady, and the person is also black, who essentially corners him, is like, "Hey, rich boy, why aren't you doing anything? You have all the money in the world, and your parents were good people." And essentially the same thing is happening here, where he's trying, just like in the Batman, the most recent Batman movie, where he tried to destroy his Batman. He tried to kind of ignore his Bruce Wayne, his life as Bruce Wayne, and just be Batman. And this, he's trying to literally fake Bruce Wayne's death and just be Batman. And it's very interesting.
Very, very interesting.
And of course, naturally, the story's going to eventually, it's only 2 issues in, but it's naturally going to end with him realizing that Bruce Wayne is necessary.
Right. They're intrinsic to each other.
Just like in the Batman. It's good Batman.
Yes.
Have you seen the Batman?
I have not seen the Batman.
Last
Batman movie I watched, I know, and he did a great job from what I've heard. The last Batman movie I watched was, I think, the one that came out in the 2010s. And I enjoyed it. It was a pretty good. It was a good movie to me.
I mean, everybody likes those.
Okay. Because I know I have questionable taste in superhero movies because I don't watch them very often.
It is what it is. Poison Ivy. The zombies that Ivy accidentally created have made their way to Gotham faster than anticipated, and now she has to work with Killer Croc and Solomon Grundy to stop them and make a cure. Wesley Dodds, the Sandman. Wesley's search for answers brings him to the city morgue as he learns the man who broke into his home didn't die from the fire. He was dead before that. But the clues he finds land him face to face with the true villain, and he's already begun using the Sandman's gear. Enter the Fog, which is the name of the villain, who stole his book that, like I said, he should have destroyed, that has the formula of stuff that he was creating before he actually made the sleeping gas that were more deadly than the sleeping gas, and this person stole it and recreated it. Radiant Black. These comics have been in my backlog for months now. I love Radiant Black, but it's just, I don't know, I've just been sitting on it. So there were 2 people to use the power of Radiant Black, and a few issues back, they had a poll online to choose who will keep it, but then they pulled a fast one on us and decided that they both would. And every chapter of this arc, titled The Castless War, have a A and a B issue. With the A issues following the second person to wield Radiant Black, Marshall, and the B issue following the first person to wield it, Nathan. So essentially, it's following 2 different timelines where either one of them took the Radiant permanently. And in issue, what was this, 26? The chapter only had dialogue changes in the first issue, not 26, issue 25, the first issue they did this, where they did A and B issues. They only had dialogue changes, but as the issues go along, the changes get bigger and bigger. Let me see. In issue 26, the biggest difference was that when Marshall took over as Radiant Black, it was because Nathan was in a coma after a battle with Radiant Red. So in his timeline, he calls for help from the other Radiants, Radiant Red, and the Radiants, like the entirety of Radiant Black is literally like Power Rangers. So
I see.
He calls in the other Radiants that he made friends with while the original Radiant Black was in a coma. So the original Radiant Black doesn't know them. So in his timeline, he didn't call for their help, and he decided to do it all by himself and take it all on his shoulders. And as a result, some civilians died in this invasion of these alien robots. And in the issue after that, like I said, the changes get way bigger. And I made a mistake and read the B issue first, and I didn't mean to, but I'm glad I did. Because spoiler alert for Radiant Black, for anybody who's reading it, who's watching this. In the A issue, Nathan, the person, the original Radiant Black, dies. Whereas in the B issue, which is the issue where he's the person who's Radiant Black, naturally he doesn't die. And
right, of course.
They're put in the same situation where the person who doesn't have the Radiant, because they're best friends, gets kidnapped by the aliens. Because I guess I should explain what they're doing. They're testing Radiant Black for the fate of the Earth.
Oh, okay.
And Nathan feels like because they're testing him, he has to do it all by himself. Whereas Marshall is like, no,
right.
I'm going to ask for help from everybody, including the government. And because the government wants to help him as well. So,
right.
But in the world where Marshall got help from people, his best friend died. Because at first I was upset at Nathan for letting people die in that issue where he didn't ask for help. But now I'm like, maybe that was the right choice. Because in the world where Marshall asked people for help, Nathan died. So I don't know. I'm conflicted. I don't know what's happening. I'm excited what happens next with these two separate timelines. Also, Marshall, after Nathan dies, ends up brutally murdering a lot of people. Not like people, but the aliens. And Nathan like goes out of his way to try not to hurt people. So we're getting very different takes on Radiant Black in this. It's very fun.
Yeah, this sounds fun.
Grimm. Jess goes to save their friend Marcel from hell. But once they escape, they're confronted with literal hell on Earth. Grimm is a fun comic. I remember I just saw the cover and the art is gorgeous. And it made me want to read it. And I think it's like the first couple issues came with like the Kindle subscription, which also Comixology and Kindle merge. Thank God. Because I was tired of them being two separate subscriptions. It's like, bro, just put them together. The next step that needs to happen is for them to combine the Kindle subscription with Amazon Prime. And once that happens, I'll be subscribed to Prime all the time to read comics. But yeah, Grimm's a good comic. Fire and Ice. Ice's worst fear about Fire's antics. I forgot. I took like the synopsis and then started editing it around. And I forgot to cut out the beginning of that. So ignore everything I just said. Martha Kent attempts to help Fire and Ice make up over Smallville's finest drag brunch. And Lobo shows up horny as hell for Fire. And she returns the same energy. It was wild.
Sounds wild.
This. But Green Arrow. The arc ends with Green Arrow discovering that the most obvious suspect was responsible for trapping him in alternate realities and keeping him from his family, his arch nemesis, Merlin the Dark Archer. So I bought for the first time 2 physical paperbacks for Ultimate Spider-Man. So Ultimate Universe in Marvel does not do the thing what DC does where they reboot like every 2 years. Marvel, I think they've rebooted maybe once. After that, they don't reboot. They just keep going forever. The comics from the 60s that started everything are still relevant to everything that's happening right now. But they do have alternate universes, and the Ultimate Universe was this alternate universe where things were slightly different, a little bit more grounded, which is what they were going for with the Ultimate Universe. And Ultimate Spider-Man was the Spider-Man comic that really got me into Spider-Man comics, and it was the one I read the most as a kid. So they're rebooting it and doing it really different, where there's an evil version of Mr. Fantastic in the Ultimate Universe called the Maker, who essentially has these godlike abilities. And he restarted the Ultimate Universe, but prevented everybody from becoming superheroes. So in this universe, Spider-Man is a grown man. He's like in his 30s, married to Mary Jane, has 2 kids. One of them's like 12 or something. And spoiler alert for Ultimate Spider-Man, issue 1. Uncle Ben is alive.
Oh wow!
But about a year or so ago, Aunt May passed away because the Maker framed Tony Stark for this terrorist attack that resulted in a lot of people in New York dying. And Aunt May was one of those people. But yeah, Uncle Ben is alive, and he was the lead editor for the Daily Bugle, where Peter Parker is working. Oh. But him and J. Jonah Jameson left the Bugle because of some changes that were being made by Kingpin. And now they're going to go start their own newspaper. And Peter was given, he doesn't have his powers, but now he's getting them because Tony Stark sent him this ball with the spider that bit him to give him his powers in it to essentially try, and he's trying to, within the next 6 months, bring back all of the superheroes that should have already existed but were, essentially stopped from becoming heroes by the maker. It's very interesting. Right. And I'm going to try to collect every issue physically for specifically this writer's run on the comic. Once this writer's done, I'll probably stop. But I'm going to try to do that. I'm going to start buying more physical comics because, me and you talked about it. And, we were just talking about, Kindle and Comixology and digital comics. And I like reading comics digitally. But the best way to read comics digitally, and the reason I'm glad Kindle Comixology is together now, is through subscription services. Because that way you aren't buying individual comics, which naturally means it's cheaper. And also, you don't they
don't take up as much space.
You're not as worried about them taking comics away from you that you've bought and should own. But the way these digital laws work, you don't necessarily own the things that you buy online, like movies and games, which is stupid. That's why subscription services are the best way to read comics digitally. Plus, you get the most value for your buck. But physical should still exist for the sake of preservation. And the people who want to read things physically. And I just want to support it a little bit more. So I'm gonna start buying some comics physically. Specifically, I'm gonna start getting what do they call them? Alternate. I think they call alternate covers. Where some comic book artists will do their own. Would do alternate covers for certain comics, and they do some great covers. And I follow a lot of comic book artists on Twitter and Instagram, so I always see them post the covers. But now I'm gonna start buying them when I see them. If I like them. Yeah, I'm gonna start getting some comics from local comic book shops. Unfortunately, there was one on York Road across the street from the movie theater up there, but I think it's closed now.
Oh no!
It's unfortunate. It was so close. So now I have to. I'm gonna have to go to the one out Pikesville.
Oh, I know. Well, I guess because you're probably looking for a bigger one. Because there's the one in Hampton, Atomic Books, I think it's called.
I've heard of that. Yeah, I've heard of Atomic Books. I didn't know it was in Hampton.
Yeah, it is. It's like the words are escaping me, and so are directions. It's in Hampton-ish. Near where that McDonald's is by Poly Western. It's they have a pretty good comic selection from what I can tell, but I don't know anything about comics, so that might not be true.
Yeah, I got these comics from eBay because it was after the issue came out, so the comic shop didn't have it anymore. But I'm gonna try to be on top of getting the next issue so that I'm not late.
I feel it. You know what though? It's funny that you bring that up because that's been a big contention point in the Trigun fan base right now. How hard it is to track down physicals and how expensive they can get. And it's they're doing the reprint of Trimax, the deluxe edition, which I will be getting. But it's what if I wanted the originals? You know what I'm saying? And it's really a shame.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm being honest, I think I don't necessarily think the originals need to be reprinted. I think as long as it gets reprinted in a way that makes it accessible is enough. I don't think the originals necessarily need to be reprinted. I don't think that's a necessity. I think just making sure that there is a readily available physical way to buy it in general is the necessity.
That's the thing with Trigun. There isn't. So my for Christmas, my girlfriend got me a copy of I think Volume 3, whichever one has the arc with where they're in the sea, the ship. I think it's Volume 3. Yeah, she said that it was so hard to just track down that volume at a reasonable price, and it's that's barring the more popular ones like volumes 10, 11, 12, etc., etc. And the only reason she managed to find it is because there was a link on Walmart that still worked, and she wasn't even sure that it would get here, but it did. And it's I think it's less a thing of people wanting it to just wanting the originals. It's a thing of they're collector's items essentially. It's collecting first edition comics,
Yeah, but the thing about first edition comics and collector's items is the whole point is that they're not easy to find.
Yeah,
and that they're limited. So at best they just need to be reprinted once if the anime gets more popular, which is why they're doing the omnibuses, the deluxe editions,
which I'm excited about. Really excited. But I also don't want to, because I found that they had at the Enoch Pratt Library, they had
Yeah, I was about to say you
volumes
could probably
10.
find it at the library because that's why I read Tracker Maximum.
Yep, I have 10, 11, and 12 checked out right now, and ooh, they're more painful in person than they are online. I'll say that.
Like I said, I read every volume other than like the last couple. I think like the last two. I need to
Mm.
finish Tracker Maximum eventually because I'm still in the middle of rereading it. I don't think I've read it since the anime stopped airing.
Honestly, I've been like at like I've been like not rereading it on and off, but like I'll think about something and then go look at it like in the digital edition that I have, and it's just it's all so painful all the time.
But yeah, Superman. Uh, After partially recovering from kryptonite poisoning, Superman has to use Lex Luthor's armor to fight the villain Dr. Farn before they get to Metropolis's newest vigilante, Marilyn Moonlight. But he's too late and her powers go out of control, sending Superman to the Wild West, which I'm interested to see that next issue of Superman in the Wild West.
Cowboy Superman goes insane.
Yeah. Speed Force, Wallace West and Avery Ho, Kid Flash and the Flash of China lead their own series where they have to stop the Music Meister, who's controlling Masi Manos, who, if you've seen the 2003 Teen Titans, they're the little Latino speedster kids that wear red and white
Oh.
that they were created for that cartoon, and eventually they did make their way into the comics, but they haven't really been in the comics like that. This is their first time showing up in the comics in a while.
Interesting.
But yeah, and lastly, Wonder Woman. I think I read this last night. To further drive a wedge between Wonder Woman and the world, the mysterious shadow ruler of the U.S. government uses their evil version of the lasso of truth, the lasso of lies, to
The
trick.
lasso of lies is
Yeah,
crazy.
to trick. It's comic books. To trick a soldier
Yeah.
who took place in the attempted arrest of Wonder Woman. That went horribly wrong. She just destroyed them all. I don't know why they thought they could do that. He uses the lasso to convince him to kill himself, and then to first write a letter, obviously not after he killed himself, to write a letter that blamed Wonder Woman, that blamed him killing himself on the PTSD from the battle against Wonder Woman, resulting in the U.S. preparing for war against Wonder Woman and the Amazons. But as all of this went down, Wonder Woman spent the day with a terminally ill child, completely ignoring her immediate problems to give them the greatest day of their life before they,
Oh, yeah.
pass away. It was real sweet. It was just all these people were preparing for war, and Wonder Woman's just spending the day with this kid. She doesn't care about that. But yeah, the next couple issues is going to feature the Wonder Girls. The original Wonder Girl, Donna Troy. Second Wonder Girl, what's her name? Cassie Sandsmark. And the third one, Yara Flor, the newest one. So yeah, I'm excited for that because they're sending assassins after Wonder Woman because they tried the army, and obviously regular people aren't going to cut it. So now they're going to start getting some of her actual villains, which, similar to Superman, Wonder Woman just through, I've said it 1,000 times. It's ridiculous she's never had her own cartoon and she needs to get one soon. But unlike Batman, Superman, who have had their own cartoons, and even then with Superman, he hasn't had nearly as many as Batman. Therefore, people don't know Wonder Woman's villains like that. But she has her own like each villain of superhero has their villain. The villains sometimes team up and work together, and they have their own little name. Like Spider-Man has the Sinister Six, Flash has the Rogues. Wonder Woman has Villainy Inc., which is when her villains team up to fight her, and they're essentially forming that to try and take her down. But yeah, moving on to TV and film. Halo Season 2, Trailer 2. When a trailer's good, it's good. This trailer was so good.
It was.
It's ridiculous how good this trailer is. Even if you don't even care about Halo, this trailer's just good. My expectations still remain low, but they're no longer on the floor. I don't want to get my hopes up.
It's something.
Yeah, I don't want to get my hopes up after the first season, and would rather be pleasantly surprised than disappointed, because the first season, it wasn't egregiously bad or anything. It just wasn't very good for the most part. There were some good moments, but a lot of the story decisions were strange, and I didn't care for a character that they put a lot of focus on. And it's been confirmed there will be more Spartans this season, and that makes me excited because there were only 4 Spartans in the first season. Master Chief and his team. What do you call it? Silver Team. But yeah, that comes out very soon. February.
Yay, exciting.
The Mandalorian and Grogu. The Mandalorian Grogu are headed to the big screen, directed by Jon Favreau.
Oh wow.
It goes into production later this year. They really dropped the ball with season 3. But
Mm,
since this is a Favreau joint, I have some hope. I hope this is good. I don't know. Star Wars has just been iffy lately.
mm-hmm.
Still watching Percy Jackson. But I recently learned that the Percy Jackson universe is so much bigger than I thought.
Oh yeah,
And this
it's
series
huge.
and its eventual spinoffs will likely go on for a long time, probably like 15, 20 years. And I feel like it has the potential to be one of the best young adult novel adaptations that could span. It could even go into animation if they wanted to. Like Percy Jackson, I didn't realize that there were like spin-off books that go into, spoiler alert if you don't want to know if you want to know nothing about Percy Jackson, because I assume you know about the spin-off books and what they do.
I do.
Okay, so there are spin-off books that go into different mythologies, and I didn't know that was a thing. And yeah, I had no clue, and that's cool. There's an Egyptian mythology
Super
one.
cool.
There's
Yeah.
a Norse mythology one, and then they also
See,
the Roman and Greek mythologies are different. This is it's so
mhm.
cool. It makes me want to read the books low key, but I don't think I will. I think I'm just gonna stick to the shows. But I don't know.
Real.
Maybe at
Yeah,
some
I've
point I
read.
will watch the books. I mean,
Yeah, I've read part of the Norse mythology ones. They go insane. They're so good.
yeah. I'm excited to really see this show do well and get more, because they could do so much with it. Last in TV and film, Echo, a Marvel show that released 5 episodes all at once on both Disney Plus and Hulu. I almost didn't continue watching it because the first episode was basically a recap for people who haven't seen Hawkeye, where the character debuted. And despite not liking the term superhero fatigue, because I feel like it belittles superheroes and tries to fit them all into a neat little genre where high art can exist. And I'm just tired of being disappointed, and I am starting to feel
Right.
a bit of that fatigue. I already skipped Flash and Secret Invasion, and I'm prepared to skip more superhero movies and shows. But the second episode of this did get me back into it, and once it actually started getting into the plot properly, I actually enjoyed it a lot. It was 5 episodes, and that wasn't enough. It needed either be shorter and like a movie length, or it needed to be longer. It was one of those shows where it it was either too much or too little. It's a weird in between. I feel like a lot of Marvel shows are like that. They either feel like they needed to be a movie or they needed a couple more episodes. It's weird. I hate this whole 6-episode miniseries thing that Marvel keeps doing. Like, if you're gonna make a show, make a goddamn show. Make it like 12
Make a
episodes.
show. Yeah.
And yeah, I feel like it bounces between a crime drama, a coming of age story, and a family tale, and it could have done all of that much better with more time for each element. We really got, like I said, got to do it with the limited series. The last time we talked about Echo, I mentioned how they said they were changing her powers, which were previously photographic reflexes, or the ability to perfectly copy other people's movements. Because she debuted in a Daredevil comic, so she's meant to kind of be the opposite of him. Daredevil was blind with heightened senses, and especially hearing, while Echo is deaf with a heightened sense of sight, where she can copy movements just based on seeing them. And in the comic, she becomes like a world-renowned pianist because of that. And of course, naturally, she's a good fighter. But instead, they turned her into the Avatar, and I don't really like it, to be honest. I think they're doing it to play into her Native American roots with this new ability, but it's just kind of lame to me. I don't think like it's a racist thing. I think the person who made it is actually Native American, but I still don't like it.
Okay. Because I was like concerned.
I still don't like it. I just don't think it's an interesting power. Just turning her into an Avatar. I think they keep trying to make these characters' powers more grand when she's meant to just be a street level hero. She doesn't need this grand reaching back and taking the experience of the ancestor type powers. Just give her the photographic reflexes. But speaking of Daredevil, it's what they've been doing with the reboot, or not. It's not a reboot. It's technically a continuation of the Netflix show. It's weird. So at one point they thought it was a good idea to get rid of get rid of the entirety of the supporting cast and only bring back the actor that plays Daredevil and the actor that plays Kingpin, who was in Echo. He was the main villain of Echo. Vincent D'Onofrio is Kingpin. And everybody was like, "What are you doing? You're literally removing everything that we liked about the original show, And now they've restarted. They filmed half of the show, and now they're restarting production because they realized that what they were doing was extremely stupid. I don't know if it was the fan backlash online or somebody behind the scenes stopped them and said, "Hey, what are you doing? You're literally taking away everything that people liked about the original show." And yeah, now they're going back to they brought back everybody. They brought back the supporting cast. They brought back the dude who played Bullseye. They brought back everybody now, and now they're restarting. And they might be bringing back the original like writers and showrunners from the original show to just make it good. Because what they were planning to do before was not going to be good at all. But moving on to video games. I sent you a trailer for a game called Sun and Bone.
I saw it, and it
was literally just Doom with dinosaurs.
Doom with and like it goes so insane. It's such a simple concept, but it goes so insane. I want to play this game.
It really does. It's just Doom with dinosaurs. That's all I have to say about it.
It looks good.
Yeah. Xbox had a developer direct where they showed off a couple games. Only only one that I really cared to see. But one of them caught me by surprise. Avowed looks cooler than I expected. It reminds me of an old arcane game called Arx Fatalis. It focuses on a combination of first-person melee gunplay and magic using wands. You can even dual-wield wands and use them like they're guns.
Oh, wow.
And just shoot off different spells from each hand. It looks really cool.
It's like Hexen. That's super neat.
Yeah, it's releasing this fall, and it's another one of those games where it's on Game Pass. So why not try it out?
Yeah.
What is it? Persona 3 Reload is gonna be on Game Pass. That's how I'll be playing.
Yes. I don't want to play it on my computer though. That's my one thing. I don't know. We'll see.
Is it on Switch?
It's not on Switch. They didn't announce any plans to put it on Switch, I don't think. But if it is, we're gonna Switch. If not, my stepsister said she'd sell me her PS4, so I might just buy that from her.
I had a revelation earlier about how, because I've been, after getting the PS3, I started I was looking up stuff about PS3 on YouTube. So YouTube started sending me videos about old PS3 stuff, but they also started sending me stuff about the PSP and PS Vita. So I ended up watching videos about the history of the PSP and Vita and why it failed, but it was really popular at the time. And if they didn't, I'll get into it at the end of this because I have an idea.
Right.
But we'll get to that. At this Xbox Developer Direct, they also showed off the Indiana Jones game that is being made by Machine Gun Games, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. Kind of a boring name, but the game looks fun. Developed by Machine Gun Games, the team that behind the last two Wolfenstein games. And because of that, I was prepared for it to be a first person shooter, but I was hoping they surprise us with full third person. It's first person with a little bit of third person for the when you climb stuff, it goes into third person. And I think for some of the puzzles, it couldn't be in third person. And I felt the same way about Cyberpunk, but now I can't imagine Cyberpunk in third person. Like, it works best in first person. But I think the key difference is that we have dozens of games from the Uncharted and Tomb Raider series that show that these type of like treasure hunter games work best in third person. But I feel like they had to do something different because they got to go against Uncharted and Tomb Raider.
Right.
But yeah, I was kind of surprised that they used the likeness of Harrison Ford. I didn't expect them to. I expected him to just look like some generic white dude. But no, they actually just straight up made it like it's just Harrison Ford's face. And Troy Baker is voicing him and doing his best Harrison Ford impression. I heard his voice.
Is it a good one?
I mean, it sounds like Troy Baker doing a Harrison Ford impression. It sounds like Troy Baker. You can tell he's doing an impression, but it still sounds like Troy Baker.
I see.
Yeah, this game is canon and takes place between the first two, or at least I'm pretty sure it is, and it takes place between the first two movies. Have you seen the Indiana Jones movies?
I have not. I played Lego Indiana Jones growing up, but that doesn't count.
But yeah, they're good movies. Check them out.
Go hard. I will.
There's a weird subplot of Indiana maybe having relationship with a 17-year-old. It's weird, but the movie takes place like it doesn't seem like it because this movie came out like the 70s, 80s, but the movie itself takes place around World War II or World War One,
Oh,
or
okay.
I think World War One actually. So like the early 1900s. So it's a different time, but that doesn't make it. It's not only was it a different time because the movie takes place even further back than when the movie came out, but even when the movie came
Hmm.
out, it was a different time. So it's kind of
Right.
easy to just ignore that
It's just like a different time on top of a different
because it's
time.
kind of
It makes
weird where
sense.
he was like in his late 20s studying under her father, and she had a crush on him when she was like a teenager. And then it's implied that maybe they slept together and then they started dating when she was of age. It's weird.
Mm.
Anyway, completely besides the point. I hope this game is good. I
Yeah.
think I don't know when it's coming out, but Indiana Jones movies are good. I swear. Um, but
I believe you. I believe you.
last but not least, Final Fantasy 16, Echoes of the Fallen. Final Fantasy 16 is very deserving of that game award for best score because the music in this DLC, the new music that they added, is really good. The music of this game is just incredible. The DLC takes place just before the final battle of the main game and fills in the gaps on the ancient civilization called the Fallen that's constantly talked about and whose ruins we visit throughout the game. But for the most part, it's only like 5 hours, and it's basically a glorified boss run where you just go through this Fallen structure and fight a bunch of bosses. It was fun because the combat is real good. But other than that, I don't have much to say about it. I just want to jump straight into my PSP talk because I came up with an idea. Like I said, I watched a lot of videos about
Right.
PSP, and what I learned was the PSP failed because the PS Vita failed. The PSP did really well. The PS Vita, which was the essentially the PSP 2, the reason it failed is because first and foremost, PlayStation, in an attempt to be greedy and make money, and I think I told you about this last time we met in person, was instead of using SD cards for storage, they used their own proprietary chips, which
Right. I
were
remember
more
that.
expensive than SD cards, and therefore a lot of people just couldn't afford it, and therefore
Yeah.
didn't buy it, and it didn't sell very well in America. So America just straight up stopped advertising it. But in Japan,
Oh,
they
wow.
kept advertising it and kept supporting it, so it actually sold really well in Japan, but it didn't in America, and therefore it just didn't do great overall because
Hmm.
because like a good chunk of its market just didn't care because they stopped advertising to that chunk of that market. Um,
Right.
so it didn't do very well. But the reality is, if they didn't give up on their handheld, they were making, they were doing stuff that the Nintendo Switch is doing now. That if they kept pushing forward and instead just made a new version of it that used SD cards, they probably would be neck and neck with Switch in terms of the handheld game right now if they didn't just give up
Oh,
on it.
wow.
Because this happened around like it was like just before the PS4 came out, 2013, that they gave up. So this it really, now that I'm thinking about it, it's 10 years ago. Still, it was a bop ago, but it
Hmm.
relatively it wasn't that long ago. So they could have been neck and neck with Nintendo, and I think they can come back. And here's how. We have like the Steam Deck and other PC technology people making their own little versions of the Switch. And the Steam Deck is doing relatively well for people who like playing PC games and want to play them on the go. And
Hmm.
it gives you the ability to play these very demanding games on small hardware, which kind of makes
Right.
the Switch look a little stupid by comparison. But it's
Yeah.
Nintendo.
But then again, the Steam Deck is also very bulky. I think,
Yeah,
like,
it is. But the thing is, the Steam Deck is doing things that I don't think a new PSP necessarily needs to do. The Steam Deck is
okay,
trying to
fair.
get you up to like 4K. Here's what I think a PSP can do, and I wrote this in my notes because I think it's a really good idea.
Mhm.
I don't have a proper name for it because it's honestly hard making a name for the PSP because you can't call it the PSP 2 because that's technically what the PS Vita was, and maybe you can
Right.
call it PS Vita 2. I don't know. It's weird. It's gonna be hard to name.
It's strange.
So
Yeah.
the name doesn't matter. What I think is that it should be a combination of the Switch and the Xbox Series S. And the reason I think they don't want to go handheld is because they think they're afraid of what happened last time, but also they just think that it's a market that they're gonna have a hard time getting back into because Nintendo's dominating it. But I think the way they get into it is that they market it like not only is it a handheld, but it's also a cheaper alternative to a PS5.
Right.
Or maybe if this were to come out around a PS6, a cheaper alternative to a PS6. So
Yeah.
so the Xbox Series S is an all digital Xbox. It's way smaller than the Xbox Series X, which you know what they look like. The Xbox Series X is like a fridge.
Hmm.
Whereas Xbox Series S, if you don't know what it looks like, you can look it up. It's much smaller. It's like way smaller because it doesn't have the disk drive in it. It's not just smaller because it doesn't have the disk drive in it. It's smaller because it's not as powerful because it doesn't have 4K. It only goes up to 1440p.
Right.
what I think they should do with their handheld is, on a handheld device, you don't need anything in reality more than 1080p, but I think they should do 1440p as their max graphics, both handheld and docked, because I think this should be docked, and essentially docked, it should function like I said, a cheaper alternative to the PS5, to where you can play it fully functional docked. It's more powerful docked, and you still only get, or maybe even it's 1080 docked, 1080 handheld and 1440p docked specifically, and it's essentially just sold as, this isn't just a handheld. This is like a several, maybe I'm thinking maybe it could be priced around $250. Maybe that's too low, but like $250 I think would be a good price to have people see it and go, oh, I can get for $250 I can get something that I can carry around with me and also play on my screen at home like it's a regular PlayStation. That would be incredible. I think that is the way that PlayStation can sell a handheld, is by essentially treating it as, this isn't just something you can play on the go. This is also straight up just a cheaper, slightly less powerful PS5 that does similar things to the Switch do. Because the reality is, PlayStation actually did the whole dock your handheld and plug it into your screen before Nintendo did. Like I said, if they kept with it, they could have beat Nintendo to the punch. And now that Nintendo has already done it, and they know that people are into that type of thing, and there are some people out there who, just can't afford a PlayStation because it's like $500 or like $450 right now. They could get this cheaper version that's $250, maybe $300, but I'm thinking like $250 would be the perfect price. And you can play PS5 games on it, but it would be all digital. You wouldn't be able to play games physically on it. That would be the trade-off. It would be all digital.
Right.
It would be a handheld. You don't get 4K, but you do get 1440p, which is still incredible in terms of visuals.
Right.
And like I said, Xbox already has their thing that is only 1440p that a lot of people bought and love, and it's all digital. So PlayStation can have both. They can jump into the same market as both Xbox and Nintendo by having a cheaper, less powerful version of their console that's also handheld. I think that would be incredible. PlayStation, hire me.
Agreed.
And I think then you would be able to get one, and you'd be able to play some PlayStation games.
Yes, finally.
But yeah, I think that would be a good idea. I might post it on Twitter, see if somebody sees it and does something. Because I think I think that's a neat idea. But that's all I got. If you don't have anything.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Nope, that's all I've got.
Okay.
Oh no.
I made a second click. There's something that if I click any of the empty spots at the bottom of my screen, all of my tabs shoot off to the side. And it scares me.
I hate that.
It scares me because I updated it a couple days ago. And I don't know what that is, but it's scary.
Right. It's like, stop. Bring my windows back.
But yeah, that's all we got. This is gonna be. I knew this was gonna be a shorter episode because I was looking through my notes and I was like, most of the stuff I got is from the cartoons I've been watching. But,
there's been no news lately.
But that's about to change because Persona 3 about to come out and we both gonna be playing it.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, my ads are below me. You can find Aiara's at below them and the Mushcast at below that. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel if you want to see more storytelling content, and to click the notification bell so that you're notified when we post. Peace. I'm gonna go eat lunch.
See ya. Real.